Let's begin here. There's been several areas that have been hit by water shortages. We saw protests in the East Rand here in Gauteng, Tshwane residents as well at some point stuck with no water. Just in the last hour, we're speaking to a community in uMhlanga about ongoing water woes. At the same time, the Human Rights Commission released a report into water issues in KwaZulu-Natal. So what's going on? Let's get some answers now. We speak to Risimati Mathye, who is the Department of Water and Sanitation's Water Services Management DDG. Thank you so much, DDG, for your time this evening. Communities are wondering, and I'm sure you've seen the protests, and they're wondering what's going on, and they're thinking whether or not at some points they're going to be without water completely, and also what's going on. How do you respond?
Thanks for having us, and I think you're quite right. There is news everywhere about the state of water in the country. Part of which, depending on which area you want to look at it, but as you're right, when you talk KZN, the South African Human Rights Commission just published now their report on the state of water and sanitation in the whole province, which the department has already reported and replied on the fact that we are aware of those issues and we accepted the recommendations because strategically they are aligned to what the department is already well aware of. And also on the fact that we have been supporting municipalities across the country through our conditional grants and also regional support through our staff and engineers. So those are the key issues that we are aware of. But if you look also in Gauteng now, there are also issues, as you know, normally in this time of the year, we always face these challenges in Gauteng, specifically with the increasing demand versus against the heat wave. And of this effect for now, we do have issues of load shedding and we've got losses in the system. So it's quite a more complex matter that the country is dealing with, which the department is actually in the forefront, where we are making efforts and coordinating the efforts with the municipalities to try and attend to these issues in general.
So what do those efforts look like?
One of which, for instance, if you pick up Gauteng, what we have established is actually a task team that looks at the 3 metros together with the rest of the other municipalities in Gauteng to say some of the plans that these municipalities have put together to reduce issues of losses, replace pipes, increase their storage facilities and pumping systems. Those projects need to be accelerated also on the fact that they also need to ensure that there is at least a key and integrated stakeholder management. So the department is actually at the center to drive that behavioral change and also to ensure that these metros, who at the moment consume about 77% of what is basically pumped by rainwater into Gauteng. And we are saying these plans, though they are quite crucial, but they need to be accelerated and also expecting the community to play their part on the other side of the value chain.
So listening to some of the communities over the past couple of weeks, there are some who are saying that for them, they understand that these are infrastructure issues that are being raised as far as these water challenges are concerned, while some believe, though, that those who are tasked with providing the services to the communities don't seem to know what they are doing. So is this a skills issue or an issue of capacity?
Capacity is twofold, and one could be the capacity of the system that might not have enough capacity of the storage facilities, but it can also mean the staff that works this system in terms of your engineers, your plumbers and artisans might not have the skills. But one key issue that is coming out in our meeting, specifically in Gauteng, is that the plans are there, but one of the main problems is also the financial capacity to accelerate some of these programs on the ground. We got feedback, for instance, with the city of Joburg, who are sitting with about a deficit of about 24 billion for the next 10 years, which they will need to invest in the infrastructure to ensure that they deal with the old infrastructure, because that's where they're experiencing a lot of leaks. A similar picture is painted by the city of Tshwane as well as Ekurhuleni. So these plans are there, but the issue will be the financial muscles to do such so that at least they meet the current demand.
Is it a financial muscle issue or is it a willingness issue? Because the issue of water leaks is one we've heard about all these years. And one would think that by now we should not be talking about systems that are leaking.
you will still have systems that are leaking, specifically if your pipe replacement of all the infrastructure takes longer. So in the ratio, technically, if you take much more longer to replace your pipes, obviously you are working against a margin where you have got high influx of people into these urban cities. The infrastructure is highly pressurized and your rate of replacement is quite lower. So you have got more conflicting factors that has a direct impact on what we're talking about now. Hence, what you're saying is quite valid, that you will still have leaks on the system, issues that will not actually be a matter now if some of those pipe replacement and those projects will have actually been accelerated.
Yeah, and we saw, though, in KwaZulu-Natal, for example, in that report that was tabled by the Human Rights Commission, and I know the minister has also spoken very much about these issues, is that in some of these instances, the quality of water is under question. But at the same time, you're seeing municipalities that in the report it said as well that they are not responding adequately to some of the complaints and the concerns by the residents. And we've seen in Limpopo the department coming and also taking some of the municipalities to court when it comes to some of the things that must be done. How do you begin to ensure that a lot of these things are enforced so that residents don't find themselves bearing the brunt of people who are simply not doing work at an accelerated pace that they should be?
What the department is doing, I think, thanks for that question. What the department is doing, as you know, we set norms and standards. We are the sector leader. In terms of our constitutional function as the department, we have to ensure that, for instance, you mentioned the issue of water quality. There are some standards, SANS 241, that ensures that the drinking water quality needs to meet a particular level of standard. And through our regulatory framework, we ensure that where there's non-compliance, we issue such notices. And you would have picked up when we were earlier on in the year that the department went back to produce again those no drop, green drop, and blue drop reports, which gives us an indication of how much our water and sanitation system is functioning in the country. And we're using these as an incentivized model where we go to municipalities and force them to ensure that when we give them these conditional grants, they need to be aligned to attend to some of these issues that we're already picking up. And this is how the department is shifting the margins to ensure that the sector seems to be complying. And yes, of course, you are right. Like in KZN, there are issues where municipalities are unable to also issue those proper services to the people, one of which is the issue of skill, which comes up when we do our assessment. Also, the longevity through which, or the time they take to even award some of these contracts. So procurement processes takes longer, and also the loss of skill, where engineers lose interest when the systems that are in place don't actually seem to support their function. So those are some of the institutional issues that we're dealing with.
So, DDG, I'm going to put you on the spot here and say, as we end off our interview, I'm hoping that one day we'll get to have you for a bit longer with the viewers calling in to speak about some of the issues that they're finding when it comes to water in their own provinces, so we can get a sense and be able to answer some of their questions, because they do speak about this issue quite often. But let me thank you for your time this evening, and I hope we can realize that dream. That is Risimati Mathye, Department of Water and Sanitation, Water Services Management, DDG.